passed. Does anybody have anything to say? No? That was easy. All right, the minutes of the July 14th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections if they were sent to you? There's only 3 of us, right? We just barely have a quorum. Yes, you need time. Okay, if none, I'd entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay.
Second?
Second. George moves, Larry seconds, all in favor say aye, all opposed same sign. Okay, now we're over just a mere quorum. Hey, Mike. All right. Lisa has none. Mary, you're on.
Good morning. There is a correction on the monthly investment report under general fund. That amount should be $2,984,534.88. And that has already been corrected in our report. Yes.
You have a copy of yours.
We do have a CD that will be maturing this month. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go out to the treasury bill. They have suspended any making any purchases at this time.
They have enough money, huh?
Yes.
Even though they give them away, they still have too much money. Well, you know, one line, did they give you any reason they didn't do it?
I believe that just the letter was a short letter that stated the debt ceiling is high, and so at this time they're not issuing out any treasury.
Are you gonna maintain the same amount of money in the general fund? Is that gonna be consistent like that?
Yes, for the remainder of the fiscal.
$3 million almost?
Yes.
Wow, is that scary or what? Not good. That's not a good reason, that's a terrible reason. We'll get to do Bank of the West about what you did in the Bank of the West. West Star, probably, right?
Correct, yes. And lately they have been surpassing.
Yeah, you've been doing it there anyway. Good. They're not real generous, but it's better than.
It's better than. My reports are by balance sheet. Is there any questions?
$500 balance sheet now?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
She's on the balance sheet, or in the Western on the balance sheet. Mary's voice is very strong.
I know.
She talks so loud, you ain't hard to hear her. We did her a microphone. When you get like that, Mary, you gotta speak up, or like me. Any questions on the net revenue?
On the net revenue, on the revenue side, we are almost, we're at about 98%, meeting our net revenue, our budgeted revenue. And we will slightly surpass that. We have invoiced the 2001 contract to El Paso Water for the first 2 quarters. There is a 3rd quarter remaining as part of this fiscal. And we have a few annual licenses that also have to be invoiced by the end of the
Mary, you know, I suggest you don't say El Paso Water, it's the city of El Paso. There's no, El Paso Water is just the department of the city, you know.
You know, we use acronyms around here.
So what's your acronym for the city of El Paso? EPCOT?
We don't have one.
Disney.
You said 2001?
Yes, it's our 2001 implement contract that we have.
I got this in 2001 contract.
Okay.
And the contract was written.
And that we get receivables like about this time every year from that, the city of water, the city of El Paso.
Yes, usually we wait when the board makes a final approval on application.
Okay.
Then we can go ahead and invoice for
Okay.
the first 2 quarters. The next quarter is next month,
Okay.
and then those are the 3 that are part of the
Perfect.
fiscal. The next report is our $500 check report.
I have one question, then at the number 15 and number 16, El Paso parking lot, striping, what El Paso parking lot do we have?
Oh, that was repair, Johnny, on our parking lot.
Here.
We had several cracks and
Okay, but
we
here.
needed to retar and
I just didn't know what the El Paso was, so you're talking about the one here.
yes.
You got it all.
Yeah.
Well, that's the.
But that's the name of the-
name of the vendor.
The vendor company that we hired.
Got it. Okay, so I got stupid,
They
yeah.
took them 2 times to do it.
The first was the
15.
initial 50%
Right, down,
payment.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I had the same question. Okay.
I guess
So we required and the cracks, and they did a real good job, and then they restriped everything, so.
Okay. So they want 50% up front.
Yes.
Okay. Can't get them to trust us, huh?
That was a budgeted item that we had to.
Yes, we did.
Going to the net revenues report, the parentheses means it's good, right? It's positive.
Yes.
That's where above budget.
Well, depending on the net revenue,
Now, we have a
meaning
budget of so much,
we're
Yeah.
under.
we're good. We like, let's say, like the capital projects materials, 1.453, that means that we're under budget.
Correct.
We haven't spent that,
Correct.
allotment. Now we go to the next item, capital project equipment, we do that budget. How does that happen?
Well, in regards to the capital projects, the 3 million consists of all the accounts under that, from 5,001 to 54,000, inside.
Oh, okay, so. All right, so then that means we're just above.
Then
just under-
995.
Okay, we're just under $1 million. Okay. And I guess, what would we attribute that to? I mean, I'm just wondering, was that Al Blair question? Is that part of the grant work that we've been doing, or?
Yes, the majority of the capital projects have been the grants that we've been working on.
Is there a way of making it up, Al, or we're just stuck with that amount?
You know, we'd have to look at the details of that calculation. I haven't done that for this month, but typically, is it showing a residual that there's money left?
There's a loss of $995,000, at least if I'm reading this correctly, on the capital
I
project.
mean, it's not a loss, it's we underestimated the budget, is that correct, Mary?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we over budgeted, so we're still good.
We under budgeted. I'll look into that and I'll have an answer for you at the next meeting.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we're not gonna use money on money that we're supposed to be getting, because we're gonna be talking about a grant today, right? So I just wanna make sure that we maintain our, watch the monies regarding grants and how much money is allotted for it.
And we have received reimbursement from some of those grants already.
May not, sounds like the government's out of money. Too hard to money. questions on the $500 check report?
Is Hub International, is this the month that they hit us with these four expenses?
It's our final quarterly report for invoices for the fiscal.
And
We are billed on a quarterly basis.
Oh, quarterly,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, this is the fourth.
okay. Hub International likes us a lot.
Need a credit card report? And the legal and consulting fees budget report.
We have received Al, we have received the last 3 months of the invoices for April, May, and June. They just don't reflect on this report and will be seen on the following.
Any other questions of Mary? If not, let's move along. Rose, you're on.
We do have 2 tax adjustments. We equal $67.62. The first one, the property was seized by the USA, and they just recently took title of the property. That was in March of 2020. So I have to prorate the taxes.
Where is that property?
Pendle and North Loop.
How did the federal government have?
The property actually was seized in 2016, and just recently they took title.
Okay. And some kind of a legal deal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I was wondering.
The second parcel, the property was being auctioned at a tax sale, there being no bid. The property becomes now a trustee account, so we are part owners, so therefore the property becomes exempt. So we have to also prorate the 2020
Right.
taxes.
Yeah, that's a tax sale, I understand
Yes.
that one. The other one, how did the feds get involved?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a motion to approve adjustments to the tax assessment?
Move to approve.
Second makes motion, George seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you. The next reports, we have the City of El Paso, we have a Public Service Board and Lower Valley Water District assignments. And we also have the tax suits. You notice on the tax suits, we have 46 accounts paid. And this is due to, we're getting our records updated with the law firm because of COVID, everything was sort of at a standstill. So a lot of the tax suits were actually released, non-suit or paid. So now we're getting cut up. So that's why we removed 46 accounts, plus $17,000 that we collected from the time frame when the suit was filed to when it was non-suit.
Good. Well, I was 25 years getting there, you got that.
There you go. Our next report, we got the comparison between the 2020 and the 2019 tax assessment. 2019, we're at 98.1716%. Right now, we're at 96.793%, so we are trailing. 1.33%.
You know, I was noticing back on your first report, the accounts receivable summary, that there's always water delivery charges, a lot more people got water than they ever paid for.
Yes, sir. So we catch them, we do charge them. but the problem is,
But they don't pay it, but
Yes.
are we, then they do it without permission, is that what it
Yes.
amounts to?
yes, sir.
And so they're not ever gonna pay it, but are we, none of this is impossibility
Yeah,
to
and
do.
we have,
We prevent them from getting it next
we have
year
now-
the best we can.
our water team, we got Kathy, we got Josh, Jaime out there, they did catch them. You know, they let them know, you were dealing with
Yeah,
it,
no,
you
it's
take the water
impossible.
so on.
What I was thinking about the next year, if they get it, but, Kathy'd have to stand out there and knock heads every day on every place to keep that from happening, so.
Johnny, is there a fine or anything for?
You can take them to court probably, I'm sure, but I mean, we could get, it's better when Kathy beats them up. We don't have to worry about it. Anybody else do it.
The fear
I've
of
seen
God.
her in action. Yeah.
No courts needed.
Anyway, excuse me,
No problem.
I saw that and I just thought, gosh, wow.
Yes, and that's all I have.
Thanks, Rose.
Any other questions of Rose, guys? Thanks, Rose. Good job as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Julie?
Okay. Before we get started, I'd like to move items A and G to the close. If that's all right with-
A and which one?
And G.
G.
Then we'll start off with item B, our grant funding application, or projects for this coming year. We have the Franklin Feeder project from the Partidor to Socorro Road that we'll be targeting, and I think we should be ready with this project by more or less around the mid-September, maybe the end of September, right, Omar?
Yes.
And Al put together the engineering part on it that needed to go through Texas Water Development Board. It's a $180,000 grant that we received from Texas Water Development Board. And so there were some things that we still needed to comply with them. But that'll be ready to go. It's already money that's been awarded to us. And then the next project is the Riverside Canal. We're going to be continuing on from where we left off. We did some work below Wasteway 1 and concrete lined, and so we're going to pick it up from there. It's a $1 million grant that we received from the Bureau of Reclamation. Everything's in order. Our seepage tests have been done. All the engineering work that was needed has been done by Al and approved, and so we're ready to go with that. Pete can start on that project the moment that we shut water down in that canal. So we'll be doing 6,600 feet more of concrete lining. We'll go way past the Stallings checks, and so it's just another section that we'll be done with, and that's one of our big canals, one of our biggest canals that feeds the lower valley, and where we lose a lot of water. The canal is real wide. It's a lot of sand.
Lake Riverside.
So once we do that section, we'll be in pretty good shape. The Isla lateral, we received another grant from the Bureau of Reclamation for $75,000, and we'll be concrete lining from Rio Vista to Moon Road. It's not a real huge lateral, but it is an important one, and that we concrete line it. There's homes on both sides of the lateral. There's an elementary school. There's businesses. So it's an important section that we need to complete also. So that'll be ready to go also. So we have those three projects, and then the last one that I want to talk about is the award that we just got, the special earmark that we got, that Commissioner Eliana Holguin carried for us through Congressman Tony Gonzalez. that represents the 23rd district from San Antonio to just past Clint here. So we should be getting that funding. Omar's been in touch with the congressman's office in San Antonio, and we should be getting that funding. We don't know if we can get the funding and proceed with that work. You all funded part of that work that we did on that canal this last year. I would recommend that we wait for our funding, even if we have to wait a year until we get it, because this will really, it'll complete the project all the way to where we need to complete it. And it's a real important canal also. It feeds some of our big farmers down there, and it's a canal that's got a lot of issues with seepage and sand, and that it took a lot of work from Pete's crew to do the section. I don't remember, how many feet did we do, Pete?
We did 1,500.
1,500 feet? And so, anyway, my recommendation to the board is that we hold off and not spend any district funds and wait till we get this appropriation.
That's the island main you're talking about?
Yes, the island main.
It's over in Egypt.
And then we're also on the island main, we're looking at the possibility of drilling a couple more wells there. Pete's looking into that right now, but we'll bring that back to you all once he's done that.
Looks like we're gonna need them.
Yes.
So these grants combined, this is money that's coming to us, right? We're not splitting that money, that's our portion they're paying us. The 180 plus, it's just about over $1 million of money that's combined between all these 4 items.
Yes, this is money that's already been awarded to us.
But it's money, it's not our portion, it's that money that's coming to us too.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and the way the Bureau of Reclamation is handling it, they have this special account, and Mary, I don't remember the name of it right offhand. What is it called? The account that you draw from?
ASAP website,
Yeah.
and within the next day,
Yeah.
those funds are.
As soon as the work is done and they approve and Omar reports, our report goes back to the Bureau of Reclamation, then we get the green light and Mary can draw the money right away.
That's great.
The following day. So it's working out real well. We get sometimes, I think on one of our $1 million grants, we got, what, half of it? And then once we completed, we got the other half. Is that this on the Riverside?
On the Riverside, we received the portion of it.
Mm-hmm. But we've already collected everything, right?
Yes.
So it works out good. Texas Water Development works it's a little different, and so we usually have to wait a couple of months until they review everything and approve everything, and it goes to their board, and then we actually receive the funding. So those are the projects that we have scheduled for this year. There's 3, and there's actually 4, but we're recommending that we hold off on the island main.
Well, whatever y'all think, Jerry, when you manage the deal, so.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm with the rest of the board.
And then we've got under item C, the Bureau of Reclamation has opened up new grant funding, and we have a November deadline to meet, but we are proposing to you all that we be authorized to apply for $1 million grant that would concrete line, continue concrete lining the Riverside Canal. We would be able to do, we're proposing 7,000 feet of concrete lining. Omar's been working on that. He's got about 80% of that grant application already done. Engineering has been completed on the riverside. The seepage test is completed, so we can proceed forward if you all authorize us to. That is a 50% matching grant. So we've been matching it with our labor force, our equipment, and so on.
Sounds good to me, Rick.
Okay?
We need a motion?
Yes.
Need a motion
Move to approve.
Second. Second, Larry seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay, then we have the opportunity to also apply for a $500,000 grant for concrete lining the Franklin Canal. And it's also a 50% matching grant. And that application, if you all were to approve that we apply for it, it's about 50% complete right now. And engineering has been done on that section, and the seepage test is also complete. So it's a $500,000.
Do I hear a motion
Well,
to give them permission to look?
Is this one, a quick question here, what's the length of this one? Just from 75 to Franklin Feeder?
We've already done a little section from 375 to Rafael Sepien.
To Inglewood.
Inglewood,
A little
okay.
past Inglewood.
And this would go from Inglewood to, what do you calculate, Omar?
It's gonna be about 4,000 feet after
4,000
that.
feet? Along with this, TxDOT is proposing widening Alameda, repaving it, and so there's a lot of interest through TxDOT of continuing upgrading Alameda from Loop 375 all the way to Favens. Bert and I will be attending a meeting. I think it's scheduled when, Bert?
I think it's Thursday, isn't it?
This Thursday, this coming?
The one you sent in the email?
Yes, the one I
It's
sent.
Thursday at 5 p.m., I think.
Okay, so we'll be attending that meeting to, they're gonna lay out some of the plans that they have, but anyway, the reason that concrete lining is important, on the Franklin is because, they've got nowhere to go, other than to really hug our bank. And, if we concrete line, that's going to eliminate a lot of the problems that we have mowing and the danger of mowing, shooting out rocks and so
Well,
on.
they all need to be done, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a huge benefit when we can do it. Makes Robert's job a lot easier, only, that's not one of the reasons we do it, makes it a lot easier for Robert.
And conserve water. So, anyway, I would recommend that we apply for this grant. It's a 3-year timeline, so we could set it back, a couple of years. We'll be talking to TxDOT about continuing concrete lining if they hug our canal bank like they're proposing. There's a talk and dispute about how much land they own and exactly where our canal bank is and so on. So there's a lot to work out there that we'll be working with Al and Bert on.
Okay, understood. I move to accept item D.
Okay. Second, Larry second, moving and seconded, that we give permission to you and the staff to proceed with it.
I would, Johnny, in addition to that, I'd like to, from an engineering standpoint, we discussed maybe about 3 or 4 years ago a master plan on lining these projects. And we had established or discussed, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure we remember, what it was gonna take. I think it was before Omar showed up, or maybe you guys just started, that the ambitious plan of lining the canals. And we had a 5-year plan. How are we doing? And if you don't have that answer, I'd like to have an idea where we're at as far as our progression as to meeting our goals and, or if we're ahead of schedule, because it seems like we're doing really well, but I don't have a baseline to judge where we're at.
I guess we could work, or Al could work on our report to you all, working with Omar on where we're at, but we're quite ahead of what our goals were on that 5-year plan.
I think when we initially did that, we weren't involved in including the amount of grants that we've gotten. So because of that, and because of their efforts of being able to ascertain these grants, it has greatly sped up our projects, plus with the addition of a lot of extra money that's come on versus lawsuits and all that
Right.
sort of stuff. So, and now with the low water supply, we're able to really make a huge amount of progress because the canals are baked in a big part of the year, so it makes it a lot easier to do it. So, okay, anything else, Mike? We're back to the motion. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and we allow Chewy and the staff to proceed with an application for the grant. That grant, and y'all specify which one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay.
Item E, we also have the opportunity to apply for a $300,000 concrete lining grant, and in visiting with Robert, he has suggested that we pick the Salitral lateral because it is a problem area for seep losses of water and ditch breaks and so on. So that one needs a little bit more work, but we would like to proceed forward if the board will
You
approve
need
it.
permission to go out for applying for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We moved and seconded that they have, Chewy and his staff have our permission, I guess, I don't know better to say it, to proceed with obtaining a grant for the Salitral lateral. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then item F, we've got the opportunity to apply for a $200,000 grant to work on more telemetry. Our telemetry, our grant funding that we received 2 years ago has been utilized, and we've upgraded a lot of our telemetry. We added a lot of telemetry to laterals and canals that Robert wanted, and so we're in fairly good shape. We've got the opportunity to apply for this grant, and then finalize a wish list from Robert, working with Al and Omar on finishing out our telemetry system. It's also a 50% match. We do all the work in-house ourselves, and Al puts together the units that are needed for the telemetry. So that's another opportunity that we have if you all want to proceed with upgrading our telemetry.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Of course, we'll be busy. You've done a great job, Omar.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You have, it's really amazing.
And then we'll go to, guess we'll go to item H, a report on COVID. You all have been seeing the reports on the increase of cases. We've had some increases of cases here in El Paso, so we put out a sign restricting anybody coming into the building that is not vaccinated, that they wear a mask, and it's for the protection of our employees. And so right now there's a real strong order by the governor restricting us from being able to enforce the utilization of masks and so on, not only for governmental entities, but schools and so on. What will happen with that, we don't know yet. There's some of the school districts that are opposing that and going on with requesting masks. And so I'd just like to enforce that if somebody's coming into our building and they're not vaccinated, that they wear a mask.
You know, there's no reason for everybody not, I mean, you get it at the pharmacy, Walgreens have it, just walk in and get one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy, why, unless they just absolutely don't wanna do it, I don't know why they have it.
But there's so
So we
many.
were passing them out at board meetings. I thought that was a good idea.
Mhm.
What, vaccination?
No, mask.
Masks.
He was talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think most all of us are vaccinated, so
See, here's one I got here.
The trouble with that is having a sign like that, if they see it and they don't have a mask, say, I'm vaccinated, that, you know, different.
yeah, that's true, but at least, you know, Rose.
No, I'm not saying not to try it, but I mean, it's
You made the attempt.
it's not a hell of a lot of help with the way otherwise. So people are not gonna tell you the truth if they wanna come in, they don't have their mask.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not sweating and have running fever, I think that's the most important part.
So, and now, guess we'll skip over H, or G, and go to I. We're renaming the engineer, we've proposed to rename the engineering department to the licensing department and designate Rick Cortez as the manager of the licensing department and reporting directly to the general manager on the organizational chart.
I had some questions about that. Is that department not gonna do any more engineering?
Yes, through Al.
Yeah, no, I'll still be the district engineer, so we just don't, because Texas law requires, if we use the name engineering, it requires that a person be employed in that office, be an engineer, a licensed engineer. Bert's not a licensed engineer, so it's sort of a technical issue that we ran into. And so we can get around that by renaming the department.
Well, I was wondering, because we're still gonna be engineering, what would be the, you know, licensing and engineering, but you just explained it.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't really matter what it's called, as long as it has the same function or gets what we need done. So, okay. You need a motion for that, Julie?
Yes, changing the organization.
Okay. Did anybody have any further questions of the changes?
Can't just put a slash there?
I'm curious
They don't
how,
engineering
They don't want that on there at all.
But,
Well, we don't have a licensed engineer. Jay was a licensed engineer, and so, and Jay did do some engineering work for us that required his seal, so we won't have that in the part, that I'll have to take care of that external. So yeah, no, we can't use the word engineering at all.
so
You
Jay.
can use it with me, with my name, but not, you know, as district engineer, but we don't have an engineering department anymore because we don't have a licensed engineer.
Where was Jay in relation to this bar, in this chart? Was he above Cal, was he with the same line as?
Well, it wasn't really clear. I report to Chewy, and I was sort of at one time before Jay, I had to run that whole department, so we never really made an organizational change back when Jay came in. And so, but that was when we first started calling it the engineering department, was when when we went out for that job, right, Chewy, we went out looking for a licensed engineer, right?
Yes.
That was part of the requirement, and so, I mean, you tell us, we felt Bert had so many good characteristics and knowledge of the project that the fact that he didn't have a license was something that we could adapt to. So we did not require a license for his position because he had other skill sets and experience, but well, Miguel, you know what I know, it's illegal,
It's just semantics, I mean, technically, I mean, he could be the one in charge of the engineering department and not necessarily be an engineer.
Yeah, you know, I could, I guess we'd have to, you know, I always had Jay, that means that I have to have, you know, I have to have direct personal supervision of anybody representing engineering work out of that. And I with Jay there, he took care of that. He had the responsibility and liability for that. And I worked directly with Jay. So in this case, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And so I think this works out really well, don't you? Right? I mean, that's how we talked about it when we hired Bert. So I'm sorry. We probably should have brought this to you before, and everything was moving sort of quick when Jay resigned. But it's working out. Bert's doing a great job, and everything's transitioning well.
And I'm encouraging Sharon to go back to college, and I think she lacks 2 years to become an engineer also. She does a great job. She's been doing a great job. Great.
Well, I think this organizational chart's very well
No, she
done.
has.
Do we want the yellow highlight on the licensing manager?
That's the change.
It was just the change, that's just for your
Okay.
you.
Because
It's,
Jay was handling the licensing, the way I understood it, and Al was handling all the engineering.
yeah, Jay was the assistant engineer.
Yeah, Jay was doing we were a team together. Jay and I
Yeah.
sealed several plans together. Sometimes he would help out,
But
and of course, he had the ability. Like when we did inspections that required a seal, he did those for the boundary commission. So I just don't have that available anymore. So all that's going to have to be done external to the employee of the district now.
Well, see, this organizational chart is so good, it needs to be readily available to the public, I think.
Well, I think it's on our website, isn't it?
right, it'll be on our website.
Yes.
And let me tell you, nobody looks at it but us.
And actually, Jay did report directly to me.
Yes, he fell right where you see the licensing manager.
Yeah.
That was Jay's, and it was a
Yeah,
assistant
Jay-
engineer.
You have to have somebody in the office. You have to have. I can't, since I'm not there and involved so much with this legal stuff. You have to have somebody that's there on a short notice, like Jay or Bert. So this is really just to comply with state requirements, is what we're doing.
All right, well, if Julie's good with it, and the administration's good with Bert, you're good with it, I'm assuming everything's fine, I move to approve.
Second.
That's recommended.
It's been moved and seconded, we approve the new organizational chart. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So it's gonna be a Bert Cortez honorary licensing department?
Licensing with a C.
Yeah, you have to. That's after you die, Bert. So you don't help you much.
And that's memorial, not honorary.
Memorial.
Hey, well, what happened to Robert though? He has a whole office named after him. Yard.
Okay, and then the last item, I wanted to do a presentation on the Riverside Regulating Reservoir, because we are going to start working on seeking funding for that. We had applied for a grant of which we weren't successful in getting, but we want to start doing work to the regulating facility and start utilizing it as soon as possible. So we've been talking to Al, and that's why I've got Omar here, and we've been discussing it with Pete and Robert also. So I think Al wanted to give a little presentation on what we have been talking about and what we're thinking.
Yeah, I think we discussed. We'll probably work up one. I know, is Larry there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, I can't see you, you're off camera. Larry brought this up, and so there's a possibility, and I'm not sure how, it's always a compromise in doing this, that we could put the system in operation. And we don't have good numbers on it, but I think, Chuy, you're talking with Pete, was the $200,000 number that we talked about before, what you guys still think that's a reasonable number?
Yeah, I've been talking to Pete. Met with him yesterday and was talking to him about the utilization of that pipe that's there, Al, and so on that we had briefly talked about, or the possibility of maybe building a canal to feed into the ponds off of the Partidor for the time being. So we've been talking about several issues, but yeah, we're thinking that around 250,000 would
make it operational?
Yes, well, we could.
Well, it would be a fraction. Our first goal, you know, it's a 3,000 acre foot design for the reservoir when it's finalized. That's at $16 million. So what we would try to do is bring online between 100 and 300 acre feet, probably in two phases. But our goal would be to get 300 acre feet of operation out without much expense. Like I said, 200,000, 300,000, someplace that. We got to build some gates. There's provisions already at Partador. I designed provisions to add gates to it and a pipeline, and then we go to an open channel that would follow the perimeter of the lake and get it over towards the down below Wasteway 1, which I can show you in a map if you want to look at. But anyways, all this is very preliminary. You know, every indication is that we're going to have a very long off season. We're not going to be releasing water until June, like we did this year, because there's very little water in the reservoir. But that's impossible to predict, right? We could have a huge snowfall or rainfall event, and the reservoir would have more. But at this point, it would distract a little bit from our lining project, but I think there's a way that we can bring it online for between 100 and 300 acre feet pretty cheap and pretty fast. And so what we do is we'd have to get right on